Excuse me.
Who said that?
Hi, God. I'm sorry to bother you.
Oh, I haven't seen you around.
I usually don't want to bother you, but my friend just showed me the Bible you plan on giving the humans, and I've got some questions about it.
Great, more questions. What is it now?
Well, judging by what you say in the Bible, I get the impression that you don't care much about women.
What? That's nonsense. I love women. I love the whole world.
I'm sure that's true, but after reading your Bible, it sure seems like you love women a whole lot less than men.
I don't know how you get that impression.
Have you read your Bible?
I wrote it. What are you talking about?
Well, Eve will be tricked into eating the apple by Satan, who is a supernatural entity you will allow into the garden knowing full well what his plans are. You're then going to curse her and all womankind forever by making childbirth painful and making them serve men. Forever.
I mean, that does seem a little harsh, but I am perfectly just, so it.
It's not only that, you also seem to have a real problem with women's health.
I don't know what you're talking about.
For instance, you command that your people should treat a woman who's on her period as though she's sick and to be considered ceremonially unclean. It's the same way you say to treat people with communal diseases like leprosy.
Well, she is sick. Blood should be on the inside of the body.
Their bodies will be functioning exactly as you designed them to. If you didn't want them to have periods, you shouldn't have designed them to have periods.
Well,
You even get as specific as to designate everything she sits or lays on as unclean, and if anyone touches her chair or her bed, they will also be
this
unclean.
shows how smart I am. See, they won't know about germ theory for another couple thousand years, so it's actually very smart for me to.
Period blood isn't dangerous. People don't catch period disease. And simply sitting down doesn't mean the blood will somehow spread from her vagina to whoever might touch her chair later that day.
Well, I don't.
You even go so far as to say that if a man and a woman have sex while she's on her period, they should be banished from their people.
Period blood is icky and I'm squeamish about it, so I
And what
just.
about childbirth? You plan to tell Adam and Eve that their job is to have babies, but then you plan on treating women who follow your orders as though they've sinned.
What? That doesn't seem like something I'd do.
You will. Your rules around purification show how little you think of women. If a woman has a baby boy, she's to be considered unclean for 7 days. If she has a baby girl, she's to be considered unclean for 14 days.
Well, Eve ate the apple, and Eve was a woman, so it makes sense
How
that.
does that make any sense? What does Eve's apple eating have to do with the cleanliness of a new mother due to the sex of her new child? And do you really consider childbirth a sin?
That doesn't seem like something I'd do.
Then why will you require mothers to offer sin offerings after childbirth in order to atone for their sin?
Okay, alright. I see your points, but, I mean, this still doesn't seem that different from how I treat men. So there's extra rules for women. That's just because men don't give birth. These rules just happen to apply to women.
What about all the other rules and punishments?
What?
If a woman is found not to be a virgin, she's to be stoned to death. If she's the daughter of a priest, she's to be burnt alive. And you make this bizarre commands that witches are to be killed, but don't bother to define what a witch is or how to determine if a woman is one? Your ambiguity on that command alone is absolutely going to result in the meaningless deaths of thousands, maybe millions, of women over time.
I'm pretty sure humans will do okay at interpreting that one. This still doesn't seem unfair to me.
Not unfair? If you're not ordering women to be killed, you're restricting their role in society to that of a meek servant.
And how do I do that?
Where do I start? You say that wives must submit to their husband, that while man is made in God's image, women are made in man's image, so that not only are they beneath men, they are specifically made for men, that it's shameful for a woman to speak in church, that she should stay quiet and ask her husband questions at home, that women are not allowed to teach or have authority over men, that they can somehow be saved by having kids. You repeatedly say women are expected to obey their husbands in the same breath as saying slaves should obey their masters. That the people who will best be able to worship the Lord in the future are the people who have not defiled themselves with women. You even go as far as to say that women without hair are a disgrace, which just seems petty. I can't help but come away with all of this thinking that you don't care about women.
So my rules seem overly authoritarian and restrictive. I get it. But if you read my Bible, you also saw that I include some stories about great women in there. It's not all doom and gloom.
There are a few good women in there, but the darkest, most despicable stories always include women being treated worse than cattle, often at your direct command.
I have no idea where you're getting this. When have I said to do anything evil against women?
The laws I mentioned before aside, when you tell Moses to order the Israelite army to attack the Midianites, you tell them to kill everyone, which is bad enough, but then you'll give a few exceptions. You'll specify that they should kill all the children that are boys and all the girls who aren't virgins. And then you'll tell them that they get to keep all the female children who are left for themselves. It doesn't take much imagination to figure out what was done to these young, virgin war prisoners.
Well, I mean, that was a time of war, and in that time and in that culture, it'll seem okay to take prisoners that
To
have.
rape young girls captured in war.
I never advocate rape.
But you don't discourage it. You don't even bat an eye. In fact, at times you reward it.
Like when?
There are 2 times that men that you consider holy will offer women to be gang raped.
Well, I don't think I.
First, when a crowd of people rush Lot's house trying to get at his male visitors, Lot will offer his young virgin daughters to the crowd. He'll say, "Look, I have 2 daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like to them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof."
Yeah, but then my angels blind the crowds, so it ends okay.
Isn't this a missed opportunity? Couldn't you have had your angels condemn Lot's actions? If you really hated rape, this seems like the perfect time to make a statement about it. Instead of that, it ends with you rescuing a man who just offered his daughters to be brutally sexually assaulted by a crowd, specifically because you thought he was holy.
Yeah, I mean, the daughters didn't get hurt, so it's okay.
What about the other time that happened?
Other time?
One of your priests will be traveling with his concubine, because priests need concubines apparently, and while having dinner at a friend's house, an angry mob will form to kill him. Your priest's friend will say no, and will offer his virgin daughter and the priest's concubine to the crowd instead. To be specific, he will say, "Look, here's my virgin daughter and his concubine. I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them and do to them whatever you wish. But as for this man, don't do such an outrageous thing."
Okay, yeah, but that was the priest's friend. That wasn't my priest.
In this story, rape is presented as a valid alternative to killing a man.
Well, okay, yeah, I guess it does say that.
Yes, it does. Next, your priest takes his concubine and throws her to the crowd. Then they gang rape her repeatedly for hours on end through the entire night. In the morning, she'll crawl back to the house and die on the front step.
Oh, well, I, he was protecting his,
I'm not done yet.
oh,
After finding his concubine, beaten and raped to death on his front step, your priest will then take her into his home, get a knife, and chop her, limb from limb, into 12 pieces. He'll then mail those 12 pieces around Israel.
oh man. It's a metaphor?
But it's not. The murder of this woman was used to rile up soldiers of Israel and form a war party to attack their neighboring nation. In fact, when your priest retells this story, he'll leave out the part where he gave his concubine to the crowd, specifically to be raped.
Well, yeah, okay, alright, yeah, that's pretty bad.
Then why did you write it? Why is this in any way part of your plan? How can you with a straight face say that you don't consider women to be inferior, subservient, sex objects who exist with the sole purpose of being used by men, either to have babies or be sexually exploited? Well?
You don't get to tell me what to do.
Why not?
Because you're a woman. Gather the blood and sprinkle it around the altar in the building, dice it up, cut off its head, remove the fat, separate the guts and the legs from the rest of it, place the head and the fat and chunks on the altar and set it on fire. Then wash the guts and the legs with water and put them into the fire.